Hi, welcome back to Mentorship Moments. This is Dr. Don Reagan, and I have the privilege of interviewing and talking to Dr. Brandon Ellison. He's a DPT at a UT Chattanooga, board certified in orthopedics, certified manual therapist, and fellow of AOMT. He currently serves in the role of vice president of continuing education for one of the largest outpatient orthopedic groups in the country. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So the subject matter that we're going to cover today is really the importance of expertise development or mastery. And Brandon, can you tell me a little bit about why is it important for our mentees to embrace a philosophy of being a lifelong learner?
Man, that's a big question. And so looking at, what you do 5 years ago versus what you do today, I think in life is one of those kind of quick things to kind of reflect on. As a lifelong learner, we're continuing to take on new challenges, new adventures, and that's what helps shape you and your expertise both in life, but also as a professional. And so I think taking these stories, collecting stories, and putting them together helps really elevate someone from being a novice, beginner or novice into a master of a subject. And unfortunately, that takes time. And that's one of the fun things that while we're in this profession, I call it practice and not just therapy.
Yeah, certainly. What are some of the habits or disciplines that you see experts do really, really well?
Healthy skepticism, I think, is a good habit to have. So not being resistant just for the sake of resistance, but more of like seeking to understand why. But then there is a bit of a balance within that. I think the other part of that habit is recognizing when that balance gets out of whack. And so there's sometimes you just have to go with just because and go get you a rep, go get you a data point, go figure out how that works. But that's why you always go back and look and reflect, which I think is another great habit of reflect on things. Why are you doing what you're doing? Is there a reason for that? Did it work? All of these things, I think, play a role in feeding healthy skepticism, but also helping you develop, thought processes and skill sets.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's really, really good. I think that, the early professional, they're looking at their goals, whatever their aspirations are. And so if you could speak to yourself, Brandon, 10, 12 years ago, as you were embarking into higher education and pursuing this career, what would you, some of the best advice you would give yourself as you're, kind of setting goals and pursuing this path?
This is a part of that whole reflection thing. So looking back, it's be patient and calm down. At least for myself, I've always been one to push. How about now? And there's a lot. I've been very fortunate to have mentors and guidance along the way that have given the feedback of just be here for a minute and appreciate where you are and learn from it, as opposed to always pushing and driving for the next thing. That has had its benefits, but at the same time, having some healthy pushback from people that I trust has really helped me along the way. And that's one of those things that if I could go back and say, new graduate Brandon, be patient, have some trust and some healthy curiosity, and keep it at that.
Yeah, Brandon, that really resonates with me. I think my experience has been very similar in that I put such a hard push, in the first 5 to 10 years of my practice. And one of the things that I'm learning now is the importance of that rhythm of work and rest. I didn't rest enough in my first decade of practice. And so I hit a bunch of milestones, both professionally and personally. But I think I'm really focused on resting better in my future, taking all my PTO time. That was something I never did, Brandon. I don't know about you, but I never used all my PTO. And this is one of the messages I wanted to get to our mentees was use your PTO time.
Yeah, and again, I've been in a lucky circumstance to where I've had mentors that have shared that same kind of philosophy of, hey, take a break and go recharge. But they'll also even call me out on times where I don't even recognize it. And,
Yeah, so
and so that's
I'm
been
curious, Brandon, what are some of the signs and symptoms for you that you're overworking and need to take a break, take a respite?
It's a bit of fog. I'll find myself talking in circles. Hopefully we don't do that on this conversation. But I will I get almost stuck in like a computer loop where you just keep going and the wheels keep spinning. And so also having the feedback of it'll be there tomorrow. And, related to inbox that grows or phone calls that keep piling up. So, one of those things is I've got that, like, it's the feel of like, I got to fix it. And so getting past that and accepting that you're not going to fix everything all the time, that acceptance, I think, is another kind of big component of getting over the hump in the growth of your career.
Yeah, I share in that angst, of when the notification pops up and it's something that I should attend to or respond to. Postponing that or turning my notifications off. That's been important. I've really tried to be undivided, that when I'm at work, I really try to focus being at work 100%. And then when I'm home or with my family, I've really committed to being 100% undivided there as well. That's been important. That's been important for me.
That's a great thing. It's a great balance to strike. And I think it's seasons in life, seasons in your practice. You'll go through times that are harder than others, and then you'll start to reflect, look back at it, and change things up for a while. But yeah, to our point of looking at lifelong learners, I think how you're doing that today may look very different 5 years from now, but that's also because you got more experiences along the way.
Sure. What are some of the signs and symptoms that kind of that fogness or maybe automaticity, that it's just really getting to a place where it's starting to affect your performance? What do you do with that? Like, how do you take PTO time at that point, or is there some other discipline that you participate in?
Yeah, so a bit of some exercise is one of the biggies for me, and so I've got to take a break. I've got to pause and so try to work off the dad bod and shift back into that kind of focus. I like to consume, and so it's been an interesting thing in my role development over time is I'm constantly outputting, but even taking the moment of going back and just saying, like, I just need to go and consume, like read an article, have a random conversation related to nerdy content. Like, that's the type of stuff that gets me reinvigorated. Con Ed is an avenue for that. And so I think, getting into something that gets me excited about it again, or strikes the curiosity, as opposed to chasing that thing that I have to always do. And so getting back and consuming for me has been very helpful that way.
Yeah, that resonates with me too, as a learner and a teacher, that I've noticed that if I'm not learning new content, or I'm not critically thinking, that it really impacts my ability to give quality care, whether that's in the clinic or that's in the classroom, that I'm a better teacher and a better clinician when I'm actively learning and growing. So what are you reading right now? Speaking of that, is there anything you want to share to our readers that you're really inspired by?
I'm a slow reader, and so it's painful for me to read. I can't sit still very long.
Okay.
So I'm more of a serial phone caller. So I will, on my drive home, I'll call someone, and if they don't answer, I'll call someone else. If they don't answer, I'll call someone else. Or I'll have a topic that I'm curious about, or a problem that I've seen, and I'll bounce it off of 5, 6, 7 people, and then formulate my own decisions based off of the feedback from the crew. And so I'm more of a collaborator than an individual reader.
Awesome. Brandon, thank you so much for your candor and sharing some of your experience, both personally and professionally. This was great.
Yeah. Thank you.